Okay, we're live. Hey guys, what is going on? James here. Welcome back to yet another episode of the MrBucsNation podcast. Joining me is Billy, the co-host of this beautiful, wonderful, fantastic show. You can go check him out in the link at the top of the description of this live stream. Billy, how you doing today, man?
Wonderful. First Saturday edition of the Mr. Bucks Nation podcast. Big things, big doings.
Not only is this the first Saturday edition, but it is also the first playoff edition of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Mr. Bucs Nation podcast. So very exciting to have this today. Billy, it's playoff football. And the first thing that we're going to be talking about today, obviously, it's a negative thing overall, not something that we want to celebrate, but looking at it contextually, it is a positive thing for the Bucs that this man is not playing, and that is Eagles wide receiver AJ Brown. It is the title of the podcast episode today because AJ Brown is out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wild card round matchup. Billy, he has a knee injury. It was something that he had sustained in the final game of the regular season versus the New York Giants. He's out. What are your thoughts and opinions about that? Because AJ Brown's pretty darn good.
Yeah, that is a game-changing injury. Definitely has the potential to sway the game one way or the other if he were not to play. And hearing that he's not playing, right, combined with the fact that the first time these two teams played earlier in the season, AJ Brown kind of left the Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary for dead, over 130 yards. Tough day for the Bucs in coverage against Brown. And I think especially when you look at the Eagles right now, they're if ever there were such a thing, right? They're a potentially a bad 11-win team. And if you're in that situation, they are free falling. If you're in that situation, you kind of generally going to turn to your best players to pull you out of it. AJ Brown being one of their best players, not being on the field should have a huge impact on the game.
Yeah, I mean, again, you don't want to celebrate injuries and stuff like that, but this is going to help the Bucs. It is, and this is something that I had talked about earlier in the week whenever I was going over the injury report. We may go over that a little bit today because Baker Mayfield, Tristan Wirfs, I believe they are been upgraded to limited participants. Billy, at least they were yesterday, I believe. So they are probably going to be good to go for the game. But AJ Brown being out is huge. It is. The guy, like you said, was fantastic the last time the Bucs played the Eagles. Granted, the Bucs did have some injuries of their own in that game, but I don't think I got to tell anybody. AJ Brown's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He is fantastic when he is out there on the football field, and whenever you couple that with some of the other things that the Eagles have going on with Hurts, he hurt his finger on his throwing hand, and you have a couple of other guys who, yes, they've been participating in practices and whatnot, but how fully healthy are they? Like DeAndre Swift, I believe, was dealing with an illness, and I think that Devonta Smith was dealing with an ankle injury. So, those guys have been full go in practice, but they're still on the injury report at the end of the day. So it is still notable. This is another massive blow to that Eagles offense. So we'll see if the Buccaneers can capitalize on that, especially defensively. It's good. It's good for them, all things considered. And whenever you look at it overall, it just gives the Buccaneers a better chance of winning, all things considered. So we will have to wait and see, but that is the big news to start off this, is that AJ Brown is out for the Philadelphia Eagles. And we'll see what kind of impact that has on the Eagles, on their offense, on their ability to put up some points on the board. And we're just going to have to wait and see. But kind of shifting gears now to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in general, Billy, I want to talk about a very interesting article that was written here. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull it up. It was a very interesting article from the folks over at NFL.com. Mark Ross specifically had written an article, and it was the NFL rookie rankings. And these are the top 25 rookies from the 2023 season. Now, CJ Stroud was on this list. Your guy, Puka Nacua, was on this list. By the way, for those of you who do not know, Billy and basically called Puka Nakua. When we were at the Senior Bowl last year, Billy was covering Puka Nakua and came away very impressed. And I mean, look what happened. The guy ended up going crazy this year. But there is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer on this list that I wanted to talk about Billy. And if we go through the list, you have CJ Stroud at number 1. You have Puka Nakua coming in at number 2, Billy. 5th round pick coming in at number 2. Kind of wild. You have Jalen Carter coming in at number 3. Sam Laporta coming in at number 4. You go through the list. You get a few guys throughout here. Kobe Turner of the LA Rams, by the way. Very interesting. He had 9 sacks this year. That is wild. Will Anderson coming in at number 7. And a lot of other rookie names that everybody's familiar with this year. You have Jahmyr Gibbs. You have Devon Akane in there as well. Bijan Robinson. All these different types of guys. But you go all the way down to the end of the list in the late 20s. Yaya Diaby is there, Billy. And he is checking in at number 23. The Buccaneers' 3rd round pick, 82 overall in the draft. He recorded a team high 7.5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 2 fumbles recovered, and 1 forced fumble. And in the paragraph, Billy, of the article, it talks about how Diaby and Kalajdzic doing pretty good in their first year in Todd Bowles' defense. And it talks about how they gave the 23 spot to Yaya Diaby as opposed to Kalajdzic just because of that consistency that Diaby had once he joined that starting role. It talks about him getting the starting role over Thanksgiving weekend and how Diaby's just been a really good job. And Kalajdzic doesn't make it on this list at 24 or 25 or even above that. So Yaya Diaby, Billy, the 23rd overall rookie in the 2023 season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What are your thoughts and opinions on that?
It's awesome to see a Tampa Bay Buccaneer get some recognition, get a little bit of love in the national scale. That's fantastic, and I do think it's deserved. Yaya Diaby, the thing that might be the most impressive is he didn't start out starting, right? You talked about it. He earned the job around Thanksgiving. He was a rotational player, just kind of coming off the bench for a large portion of this season, and to lead the team in sacks with 7.5, having only been a starter for a short time, shows you how talented and explosive he might really be. I don't think he's anywhere near his potential. And one of my favorite things about Yaya since he has become, a pretty big part of game days, you can see it's very visible how hard he plays. He does not take plays off. He does not rest. He hustles to the football. He plays with relentless effort. And to me, that's something that the Buccaneers need more of. You have to have that kind of that I'm going to make the play mentality, and Yaya Diaby has displayed that in spades for the Buccaneers thus far.
Yeah, I think that, going into this offseason, me and you would both agree on this, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about this in other podcast episodes, but I think the Buccaneers are still lacking like an all-star leading man in that pass rushing rotation, but Yaya's a fantastic complimentary man, a fantastic wingman to whoever that number 1 pass rusher is going to be. 7.5 sacks in your rookie year is fantastic. And I agree with Mark Ross whenever he does write that, hey, those two guys stepped up massively in their rookie years, them being Yaya Diaby and Kalajdzic. They came in the case of Kalajdzic, he started right away and did a good job. But in the case of Yaya Diaby, I mean, gosh, you could have made an argument of why wasn't this guy starting sooner than Thanksgiving? Because the Bucs, I don't think it's. I mean, yes, they did tie for second most sacks as a team in franchise history, and that's awesome. You love to see that. They had just as many sacks this year, Billy, as they did in their Super Bowl season in 2020, which is wild to think about whenever you kind of just think about the pass rush this year and how it feels like it's been inconsistent at times, but they still got the job done. But especially from the outside linebacker position, I think that me and you would both agree that it feels like they've been lacking this year in terms of consistent pressure and consistently having a guy to be able to go and get after it. But Yaya was that guy for the second half of the season. He was that guy who was able to go out there and again, just rack up consistent pressure, rack up, a good amount of sacks here and there, and ultimately get the job done. And going forward, I mean, this is only good things, right? Because if this is how Yaya is going to be in his rookie season, how is he going to look in year two, in year three, when he's got more time to grow and develop and be a better pass rusher? I think it's going to be a great thing, Billy. And overall, hey, congrats to Yaya, man. We've seen some Buccaneers get some accolades throughout this year, and Yaya is one of the latest guys on that list, getting a top 25 spot here for Mark Ross's rookie rankings.
Yeah, and you talked about how he kind of heated up down the stretch, right? Yaya Diaby with 7.5 sacks on the season. He only had 1 sack before November. So that should show you how much production he put forth in a very short time span, which would give you a lot of optimism and a lot of hope. If he played a lot of reps in all the games next year, you might get a significant jump in his production, even from the impressive 7.5 mark.
Yeah, I mean, to say that Yaya could get double digit sacks next year, I don't think is a crazy thing. I mean, he was only 2.5 away this year. And like you said, before the second half of the season, he only had one. So it is a really good look for the Bucs. Good pick by Jason Light. Again, you talk about the athleticism, you talk about just the strength. I mean, my gosh, we were seeing this in training camp and some of these other things. Even whenever it's just something as simple as just, doing a sled drill or something like that, Yaya Diaby's almost picking up and throwing the sled. I mean, that's how strong this guy is. And I think, well, if everything goes well, he's just going to get better. He's just going to get better, Billy. So, awesome thing to see. The Buccaneers do have a top 25 rookie this season. Maybe you could have argued Kalijah Kancey could have gotten on that list also, Billy. But still getting one guy in that mix is good overall, right? And gonna give credit where credit is due there. Shout out Yaya Diaby. He is recognized for the really good rookie season he had overall. But
Kind of a mid-round pick by Jason Light too, which is where you really want to hit. You're supposed to hit on your first round picks, your second round picks, but when you start hitting on rounds 3 and later, that's where you make your money as a GM.
it's true. Real quick, I want to talk to some of the people in the chat real quick. We got Prods in here. We got Cloud in here. Abel is in here. We got R in here saying, yeah, I should be playing a lot. Great third round pick. You're not going to hear any arguments from me. Michael says the Bucs might be surprised and the Eagles might have a better passing game than we think. Well, I mean, I assume the Bucs are still, the Eagles are going to have a good passing game. Dano says it's snowing like crazy in Buffalo, a few feet in Kansas City, just cold as a mofo. No snow. Well, there you go. Nathaniel says Happy Sunday, Nathaniel. I had a question. What does mewing mean? I think uh,
Really?
Hexarius said, is bro mewing or something? I don't know what that means. I'm going to be completely real. I don't know what that means. But, yes, the Buffalo game did get moved to Monday because of snow, which on one hand, I was like, oh, bummer, because, I wanted to see those guys play in some snow, but it sounds like it is literally dangerous levels of snow. I've never experienced 3 feet of snow ever. I don't think I ever will experience that, Billy, but it sounds pretty brutal, huh? Have you ever experienced that much snow?
Definitely, yes. Yeah, definitely. And I assume maybe it has something to do with just like transportation to and from potentially. I don't think playing a football game in, no matter the level of snow, I don't think that's necessarily the problem. But I would think getting the fans to the field, getting the teams to the field might be where there's some danger or something like that, that they're a little bit hesitant of taking that route.
Probably. And again, the big difference there is for the Kansas City game tonight, no snow. It's just cold. I think it's supposed to be -5 degrees, which, hey, I mean, look, people talk about the Bucs. Oh, you want a crappy division, and oh, you limped into the playoffs. Brother, I'm gonna tell you right now, I would much rather play a home playoff game in Florida than in whatever the heck's going on in Kansas City right now, or whatever the heck's gonna be going on in Buffalo, even tomorrow, because that snow ain't gonna be going away too much. By Monday, right, Billy?
Yeah. And also, limped into the playoffs, but the Buccaneers versus the Eagles down the stretch. I don't know if the Buccaneers are the team that's limping.
No, no, they're not really limping at all. And I'm happy you brought that up because I want to talk about Super Bowl percentages, Billy. We're gonna talk about some statistics and some numbers and break it all down because there was an article posted recently by Cynthia Freeland of the NFL Network, and she does this series called Game Theory on the NFL.com website where she runs the numbers with her algorithm and percentages and whatnot. And she ran one that talks about the AFC and NFC teams most likely to hit Super Bowl 58, Billy. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are obviously on this list because they're in the playoffs. And I wanted to go ahead and talk about what the Cynthia Freeland algorithm and whatnot has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at. Are you ready to dive into it, Billy?
Absolutely.
All right. So coming in at number one with a 19.4% chance to win the Super Bowl is the San Francisco 49ers. They have a 40.4% chance to win the NFC. Not really surprising there. The San Francisco 49ers are an incredibly good football team, and, you know, they're just really good. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Number two, right behind them, 18.5% chance to win the Super Bowl, 38.5% chance to win the AFC is the Baltimore Ravens. Again, not really surprising. You have Todd Monken there, which a lot of people love, and you have him in an MVP caliber Lamar Jackson. That's a dangerous combo, and the Falcons have really been on one this year. Or not the Falcons, sorry, the Ravens. I get my bird teams mixed up. The Ravens are one of the best complete teams in the NFL this year. Their defense has been fantastic this year. Their offense has been fantastic this year, much like the San Francisco 49ers. A lot of people have been predicting a 49ers-Ravens Super Bowl. Not surprising to see why. Then you have the Bills with a 14.3% chance to win the Super Bowl, a 25.4% chance to win the AFC. A little surprising to me because the Bills have been so up and down this year, but they've had some good moments throughout this year as well. Kansas City Chiefs coming in at number 4. This was very surprising to me. A 10.5% chance to win the Super Bowl, 18.4% chance to win the AFC. I don't necessarily know if I agree with the algorithm on that one, considering that the Chiefs have been, admittedly, pretty down bad this year, all things considered, especially with wide receiver drops and whatnot, but you never know with Patrick Mahomes, I suppose. Next, you have the Dallas Cowboys with a 9.9% chance to win the Super Bowl, 20.5% chance to win the NFC. The Detroit Lions, 8.5% chance to win the Super Bowl, a 16.5% chance to win the NFC. And then you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Billy, coming with a 4.8% chance to win the Super Bowl, an 11.1% chance to win the NFC. So, Billy, by my count, you have 1, the San Francisco 49ers, 2, the Baltimore Ravens, 3, the Buffalo Bills, 4, the Kansas City Chiefs, 5, Cowboys, 6, Lions. The Bucs are number 7 in Super Bowl winning percentage probability. Billy, that is more than the Cleveland Browns. That is more than the Miami Dolphins. The Philadelphia Eagles have a less percentage at 2.6%. The Buccaneers wildcard round opponent, the LA Rams, are only at 2.2%. The Houston Texans are at 1.7%. The Green Bay Packers 0.4%, and the Pittsburgh Steelers at 0.2%. And if we go ahead and briefly take a look at the paragraph before I get your thoughts on this, it's not an advanced stat, but let's take a moment to remember Baker Mayfield recording a perfect passer rating at Lambeau Field in Week 15. Very fun moment that was not on my 2023 bingo card. It then talks about Devin White generated a league-high 20 unblocked quarterback pressures this season. In other words, look out on Monday, Jalen Hurts. And that's all it says. That's all it says to explain this 4.8% winning the Super Bowl percentage and 11.1% chance to win the NFC South is, hey guys, remember Baker Mayfield had a perfect passer rating at Lambeau Field and Devin White is unblocked a good amount of times. So Jalen Hurts gonna get ya. And look, hey, I'm not saying what the heck. I mean, what I good algorithm, good job algorithm. We like to see it, but Billy, the Bucs are right smack dab in the middle here of winning the Super Bowl percentage and winning the NFC percentage. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Because I saw that and I was relatively surprised about that.
Yeah, I think my first thought, biggest takeaway is boy, do the pundits of August look foolish. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right about now, were supposed to be firing Todd Bowles, moving off of Baker Mayfield, hitting the reset button, and scouting their new quarterback with a top five pick. That was where the Buccaneers were projected to be this time of year. Now they got the seventh best odds to win the Super Bowl. They're hosting a home playoff game against the team that has lower odds to win the Super Bowl than they do. And I think that paragraph is super brief. I think
Yes, a
it's kind
very
of
a
missing
very
a
a very
couple.
brief paragraph.
Yeah, I think it's kind of missing a couple things. I would kind of point to the improvement of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line since the beginning of the season and the emergence of Rashad White as a legitimate feature back who can beat you in a bunch of different ways. And defensively, while the Buccaneers have been hampered by a ton of injuries and the defense has not looked as forceful and prominent as it has in years past, Todd Bowles has done a good job kind of mix and matching pieces together to create at least a respectably solid product. They've taken a very different approach, I think, this year than in years past because I think they kind of know that they don't have all their horses for at least most of the games. They've been banged up big time, especially in the secondary. And Todd Bowles has done a good job, deserves credit. He's kind of kept the lid on opposing offenses rather than attacking them. He's kind of just simmered them so that, games have always remained close. And he gives the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense a chance to, hey, if you can get us to 20, 21 points, it's probably going to be enough.
Yeah, it is. Again, it was very surprising to me whenever I saw that. But again, hey, I mean, like you said, the paragraph was brief, and I get it. You got to write 14 paragraphs essentially. It's not easy, especially whenever you're running the numbers and you're on a time crunch there. But I will say, yeah, I mean, talking about the offensive line, talking about the improvement of just the team overall, Billy, and we've mentioned it, right? And I've brought it up. Look, I was talking about this, you were talking about this, we were talking about this when the Bucs were 4-7. Hey, is it time for Todd Bowles to go? What's going on with this team, right? But they responded, won 5 out of their last 6 games, and have gotten into the position that they're in. And I think they've exceeded a lot of expectations. I've made some content talking about that here on the channel. We've talked about this on the channel. And again, now to have the seventh highest percentage to win the Super Bowl, at least according to this algorithm on NFL.com. What a journey this year has been, right? What an absolute journey. And while it was surprising, when you could even argue, like, yes, and I think their circumstances are also a part of it as well. Like they get to host a home playoff game. I think that's huge. Regardless of what people say, look, at the end of the day, they won the division. They get to host a playoff game. And they're above teams that you could argue would just have more talent, like the Eagles, like the Rams, but just the way the Bucs have momentum on their side, maybe their path to the playoffs is a little bit easier than those two teams. I'm not too sure, but this algorithm seems to, we don't even know what the Bucs full path would be yet to a Super Bowl or to a winning the NFC until we get there, but it is it's such an interesting thing. You got to assume them hosting a playoff game helps out that algorithm. You got to assume them winning 5 out of the last 6 games has them help that algorithm. And like you said, the defense stepping up in a huge way. Really, just the team as a whole improving in a big way from where they were at 4-7 to where they were now is a lot of factors that I imagine that go into that percentage, right?
Right. And I don't think I don't want to speak for you, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think either one of us is saying the Buccaneers are likely to go to the Super Bowl or we're thinking that that's going to happen.
No,
But
no, we're just analyzing the percentage here.
right, and it is just nice to see again a team that was projected to win 3, 4 games this year now be, the third or fourth best team in the NFC in terms of potential to win the Super Bowl. And that is a huge jump past expectations. You talked about exceeding expectations. The Buccaneers, well, can't even find expectations in the rear view. They're a blip on the horizon behind them. There is, no there is no credible person who stood up and beat their chest and said the Buccaneers are going to the playoffs this year and they're going to be hosting a home playoff game. Baker Mayfield's going to have a career season. They're going to finish with a winning record. None of those things were the norm for a prediction before the season. So to see Tampa Bay, like you said, exceed expectations and put themselves in this spot, a lot of credit to be given to a lot of different people.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree, man. I agree. It's kind of wild. What wild times we live in, Billy. What wild times we live in. Let me take a look at the chat real quick. Let me see. Got a lot of different people in here. Can the Bucs win with Trask if Baker gets injured during the game? Good question. What do you think about that, Billy?
Yes.
I think it's definitely possible for sure. I mean, sorry, Kyle Trask is one of those guys that we haven't seen at all
Kyle,
this.
Kyle Trask played well in the preseason. When he came in earlier this season when Baker Mayfield left the game for a couple plays in the red zone. To the surprise of many, and myself included, they let Kyle Trask throw the football down at the goal line. He threw a perfect pass that was incomplete because Chris Godwin didn't get his feet in bounds. So off the bench, Kyle Trask in a very small sample size looked very comfortable. Coming off the preseason he had, I don't think that Baker Mayfield uh, won the competition in a landslide. I think that it was a very kind of a tight-knit race. So yeah, I think Kyle Trask could be suitable if they need to turn to him.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, I think especially with the way Canales calls the offense, I think it is again, it'll help. I think it'll help. Alan says, "What's up, guys? What's up, Alan? Should we be concerned with our recent infamous record for Monday night and at home games? No, I don't. I mean, because playoff football is so different, man. I think that while like there, maybe some people will have it in their heads. It's like, ooh, what's going on here? But um, even taking a look, I want to take a look at home games. What is the Bucks record in home games this year, Billy? Do you have that?
I was gonna say I to his point, I did the Monday night thing crossed my mind. That really did cross my mind. But and a lot of people I think were upset that the Buccaneers got the Monday night slot. They were skeptical of why the NFL would put them in that primetime window. But if we take an optimistic viewpoint, because it's always nice to be optimistic, right? It's more time for key players like Baker Mayfield to heal up. Baker Mayfield has been banged up and it has showed in his performance last week against the Carolina Panthers. Baker Mayfield was certainly far from the Baker Mayfield we saw earlier in December during the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win streak. And I think you can definitely attribute that to his injuries. Not saying it's completely because of his injuries, but just he doesn't look quite the same. Getting him that extra day or that extra 2 days if they were to play on Saturday, I think that could be very crucial for an injury like a rib injury. It just takes time and rest. That's how you heal injuries like that. So while the Monday night thing did cross my mind, optimistically, I was like, well, at least it's another day for Baker Mayfield to rest up, heal up, and the other Buccaneer starters to get themselves ready as well.
It's true. Yeah, I was taking a look at the schedule real quick. The Bucks had 4 home losses this year. They had 1, 2, 3, 4 home wins. So, they're 4-4 at home. It's not terrible. I mean, obviously they play better on the. But do they? They kind of play. They play a little bit better on the road. But yeah, it's not like they're like 0-8 at home. That would obviously be a little concerning. But to say they're 4-4 at home this year, it's fine. It's not bad. But Billy, speaking of, we're talking about home. We're talking about expectations and whatnot. I want to talk about something that has been brought up lately, and I feel like we've been talking about this so much the past couple of weeks, but I want to bring it up because a lot of people have been talking about it. And that is the idea of, hey, Todd Bowles is not out of the woods yet. He's not. And a lot of people, and I even had a theory about this. We'd even talked on the phone about this earlier this week. And a lot of people, it's been a bit of a popular thing that, hey, if the Bucs get blown out in this playoff game, Todd Bowles may still be fired if the Bucs even lose this playoff game. With all the different moves that we've been seeing around the league, Billy, I don't know if you know this, but one fourth of the league, has been searching for its new head coach. We've already seen a little bit of movement. Gerard Mayo is the new head coach of the New England Patriots. They moved very quickly on that, but you're also seeing a lot of prominent head coaches being moved on from. Mike Vrabel is gone. He's a very interesting prospect. You have Pete Carroll, who is gone. You have Bill Belichick, who is gone, as well as just a lot of other intriguing candidates out there around the league. That has led a lot of people to speculate, and I even, thought in theory about this to you whenever we had discussed this, of will the Buccaneers feel the pressure to make a move if they lose in the playoffs? And I want your initial thoughts and opinions about that, because it has been a bit of a topic for the past couple of days for the Bucs and for Todd Bowles.
I think I'm going to have a rather unpopular opinion. I think, and I feel this way, I think Todd Bowles is safe. I don't think it really matters how this game goes, even if they do suffer an unfortunate defeat and it looks ugly and the Eagles run the ball for another 200 yards against Tampa Bay's defense. I think Todd Bowles is secure. I think the main reason behind that is what you talked about before, and I alluded to before, exceeding expectations. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just being in this spot is a massive testament to Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield and company. They weren't supposed to be here. They got themselves here. The head coach deserves credit for that. Now, you mentioned Mike Vrabel, and I think Mike Vrabel is an absolutely awesome coach. And I'm not saying that I would keep Todd Bowles around or not look at other options if it were me. I'm just saying, for me personally, I just don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are looking to go that route. I think they like Todd Bowles. I think until he does something egregious, I think Todd Bowles is safe. And to me, if you make the playoffs, you win your division. It's two straight playoff appearances for Todd Bowles as a head coach, two straight division titles. And even maybe the most impressive thing, you lose your Hall of Fame quarterback. Everybody thought, the wheels were going to fall off, and you actually have a better record the next year with a quarterback who was perceived to be a bridge quarterback that you scooped up out of free agency. I think that really all bolsters Bowles' case to stay, and I just don't think the Buccaneers, I really don't think they have any interest in moving on.
I love Mike Vrabel. I love that man. He's fantastic. And I will say this, I agree with you. I understand where people come from whenever they say, well, if the Bucs don't win a playoff game, that's ultimately what people want to see is your coach win some playoff games. I don't think we're there yet, right? I think next year, if the Bucs go to the playoffs, they don't win a playoff game, then you may say, okay, we may have to make a change here, right?
Or if they miss the playoffs entirely next year, I
Yes,
think that all of a sudden really heats up his seat.
I think in either one of those scenarios, you would be looking to move on,
Yeah.
right? And I agree with you also when saying, hey, this isn't necessarily what I would do. But I think that whenever you look at the organization and what their mindset may possibly be, yes, there are a lot of intriguing prospects out there. Yes, the Bucs may feel the pressure of some of those other teams making some moves, very prominent teams at that, but expectations were exceeded, in my opinion. I think the Buccaneers like Todd Bowles. I think they want to see Todd Bowles succeed. And even if he doesn't win a playoff game this year, it still is only his second season as head coach with the team. He has still won the division twice in a row. He has made the playoffs twice in a row. And I think that next year is whenever you start talking about, okay, now expectations can be win a playoff game, or we look for a guy who can win a playoff game. The
Right.
old
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
go
Go ahead.
ahead. No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because the expectations this year were changed because they lost their quarterback. If they'd have kept Tom Brady and rolled it over for another year with Tom, and they go to the playoffs again with Tom and don't win a playoff game, then all of a sudden expectations weren't met. Because you had to switch out a Hall of Fame best quarterback you're ever going to coach for a relatively unproven commodity at the position, and you still got to a better record, and at least at the bare minimum, the same status in the season, that's a successful year for a head coach.
No, I agree 100%. And like I think you would consider this season a success so far up to this point for the Bucs, right? With all the changes that they've had the past couple of years, with even the situation last year where Todd Bowles was thrust into the head coaching position very late into the process, still made the playoffs, still won the division, and was able to do that again this year with even more change. Like in the past year and a half, you have had so
Yeah.
you lost Bruce Arians, you lost Tom Brady, you lost just a lot of cohesion and chemistry and culture and things that were there, and you have to rebuild a lot of that. Not a lot of that, but you have to rebuild some of that, right? And that affects expectations. That affects what your opinion of the coach and what you expect from him is going to be. And I think Bowles has exceeded some of those expectations in a lot of different ways and met some of those expectations as well regarding how his defense was going to be, how some of those players are going to grow and develop. In some ways, probably not met in terms of some other guys being grown and develop in terms of recent high draft picks like JTS and Logan Hall and stuff like that. But overall, I don't think it's crazy to say it. The good outweighs the bad, Billy. I mean, and people may be upset about that. People may disagree with that. But whenever you look at the overall picture, and I even see you wincing about it, but whenever you look at the overall picture, the Bucs are in a better position than people thought they were going to be in.
I can't go as far as to say the good outweighs the bad. I'll just say I don't think there's been anywhere near enough bad to just completely pull the trigger. Or for the Buccaneers to say, yes, we've got to pull the trigger. I'm not, yeah, to say the good outweighs the bad, I don't know. That feels really generous. But I just, there hasn't been so much bad. I mean, look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They went to the playoffs, won the division 2 consecutive seasons. And yeah, they lost last year in the playoffs, and they also, are underdogs here this year as well. But that's not an unsuccessful season for a coach taking over in his first 2 years, having to deal with a lot of things. You mentioned the quarterback change, or we both mentioned the quarterback change. Also had to deal with a trade request from his star defensive player, in the offseason. I mean, these are not ideal circumstances. His first season, Tom Brady just took a vacation during missed off training camp, and then also didn't fly with the team to Pittsburgh. And he had to deal with last year. Devin White had issues with his effort. He was called out by a former superstar, Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and Warren Sapp. So I don't know that definitively. You mentioned Byron Leftwich not being able to hire his own staff. This being the first year that Todd Bowles was able to actually go out and do that, get the coordinator that he wanted. I don't know that he's been given the greatest scenario, certainly not the worst scenario, but I don't think he's been given as pristine a scenario as on paper it looks to be. And he has gotten you results. He has gotten you 2 straight division championships, and there is certainly a decent probability the Buccaneers could win a playoff game this year. It's not as if they are going into the game and just completely overmatched that they can't beat the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, James, just ask Cynthia Freeland.
Yeah, I mean, hey, seventh best percentage there. Um, I will say this. We could be wrong, right? I mean, again, like you have a couple of really interesting prospects out there. Again, Mike Vrabel. If it was up to me, I would fire Todd Bowles and hire Mike Vrabel in a heartbeat. I mean, I am such a huge fan of Coach Vrabel. Also, another guy I would heavily consider is Todd Munkin, a guy who's familiar with the Bucs. I think that he's a guy who could really deserve a head coaching spot and would be a good head coaching candidate for the Bucs. Um, but ultimately, I think it's also important to look at it contextually, to look at it in the eyes of the Bucs organization, right? And I just think that I'm gonna say that there's an outside chance the Bucs do make a move, right? I'm not gonna totally discredit it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did make a move. I also would be less surprised though if they did keep Todd Bowles at this point.
I would be surprised if they made a move. I
Real.
just I don't I I don't see it. I don't know. again, I don't think you
Well,
can.
well, now to this point, three field goals to beat the Panthers and losing in the and if you lose this wild card game, I think his fate is sealed, is what Willie Beeman says in the chat. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Willie, I think the game against the Carolina Panthers, to me, and James, we talked about this. Thanks for bringing that up, Willie. The game against the Panthers, to me, actually bolstered Todd Bowles' stock. The Buccaneers win that game because of Todd Bowles' defense. Baker Mayfield and Dave Canales, in terms of re-signing Baker in the offseason and Dave Canales' potential quest to become a head coach, those stocks took massive hits in that game. 9 points against an underperforming team with nothing to play for is not good. But Todd Bowles' defense pitches a shutout in the most important game of the season, and it's a shutout that they pretty much needed in order to win. So to me, Todd Bowles being the defensive play caller as a head coach, of course, he takes blame for everything. But in that game, his defense was ready. The offense was not. And to me, yeah, I think that game kind of showed Todd Bowles still kind of got it as a defensive coordinator. And although the opponent was a lesser opponent, the defense did what it needed to do. So I don't look at that game as a knock on Bowles. To me, that game kind of goes more against if you don't think the injury is a major factor, it's a knock on Baker going into the offseason.
Yeah, so guys, well, ultimately we'll see. We'll see what happens, right? Me and Billy could be wrong. We could be wrong, or we could be right. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see.
I mean, Mike Vrabel would be amazing. I would just leave it at that.
Either way, we'll be talking about this. I mean, geez, as soon as the next podcast episode, Billy, we don't know what's going to happen, right? We don't know what's going to happen. But we'll see if Todd Bowles is safe. If he goes, should he stay or should he go? I don't know, man. We'll see. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting situation.
Just that was a song lyric, James.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh yeah.
Should
Oh
I
yeah.
stay or should I go?
Oh
Todd
yeah.
Bowles edition.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, listen. Let's go ahead and end off this live stream the right way by doing an immaculate grid. How about that? We've been going for about how long have we been going? About 40 minutes. We're almost at an hour, Billy. We're almost at an hour, and I think no better way to celebrate that than by doing an immaculate grid, Billy. Are you ready?
Yes, our first ever playoff edition of the Immaculate Grid.
Yes, and the first one that we've got is the New Orleans Saints in the New York Giants, Billy. What are you putting in for this one?
Saints Giants.
Yeah,
I feel like there's like a random arbitrary Saints receiver. Oh, Jeremy Shockey, but that feels too obvious.
Jeremy
But what about
Shockey.
what about
Lost in thought.
trying to
I
think if Robert Meacham played for the Giants.
I don't think Robert Meacham played for the Giants. I don't believe he did. I don't believe he did. Chat, you may need to help us out with this one. We shouldn't rely on the chat too much, right?
We know Jeremy Shockey is that's an easy one.
He's in
That's
there. Is
that's a
there?
that's a high tier. That's a low tier pick. We need somebody who's it's gonna be tough to match last week's performance.
I feel like there's a quarterback in there somewhere.
Okay. Um,
Eli Apple, that's one. Yeah.
okay.
Is there a running back? Shane Vereen? Sproles?
No,
Did Darren Sproles ever play for the Giants?
they didn't play for the Giants.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
You really don't think Robert Meacham played for the Giants, huh?
I don't think so. No.
He played for the Chargers. You sure he didn't just make his way over there to New
Did
York?
Ted Ginn ever play for the Giants?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
There is
Did
definitely a quarterback.
Yeah, it's true. I really do feel like there is a quarterback.
Backup quarterbacks, did David Carr? No, I don't think so. Aaron Brooks? No.
Did Teddy B ever play for the Giants? I don't think so. You got
Tyrod Taylor didn't.
play for the Saints. I do not believe so. Eli Apple's. I feel like a lot of people are going to guess Eli Apple though. You know?
Pierre Thomas?
Ooh, Pierre Thomas isn't a bad one. I don't know.
Go to the
Did he
Giants.
play for the Giants? I don't know. Let's just go. Let's go with.
Going with Eli Apple?
Yeah, we'll go with Eli Apple. Why
Go with the
not?
chat.
Yeah, we'll go with the chat. 26%. Not
All
as
right.
bad as I thought
All
it was
right.
gonna be.
Well done to the chat.
Not as bad. You then have the Saints and the Packers as the next one.
To the Packers.
That's a tough one.
Jimmy Graham.
That's a very good one, actually. Let's go Jimmy G. Because I don't even think people were...
Jimmy G.
I don't
Nice.
even... 56%. Okay.
Oh, no.
That's tough. This one's interesting. A Saints first round draft pick. What do we got for that one?
Trying to think of the Saints pass rusher who was a bust.
No, I mean, it's a good question.
Who's the Saints edge rusher? They drafted like Sean Payton's last year, second to last year.
Peyton Turner?
Or we could go back a ways, I guess.
Peyton Turner was a first round pick. So I mean that's always an option. Who did they have that was a first round pick way back in the day?
Reggie Bush.
Wow, that one might be a bit obvious. Chris Olave is what somebody said.
No, Chris Olave, yeah.
Who's that tackle that they just drafted? Penning?
Well, I'm annoyed that I can't think of this pass rusher, James.
Somebody said Ricky Williams. It's a good one.
Okay, yeah, Ricky Williams. They traded their whole draft for Ricky Williams.
Let's go Ricky Will.
What a pull.
It's a good one. 15%. Not bad.
Our best percentage to date.
Not bad. Somebody said, "Oh, Patrick Robinson and Malcolm Jenkins. That would have been good."
That's a good one.
Here, okay, now we need a Hall of Famer for the New York Giants. It's a tough one. A Hall of Famer for the Giants.
I'm trying to think of an obscure one. Is Otis Anderson in the Hall of Fame?
I mean, Eli Manning's a future Hall of Famer.
Obviously, like LT, Phil Simms.
Is Otis Anderson in the Hall of Fame? Let's see. Okay, well, apparently he's not even on the thing.
How do you spell Otis?
Oh, it's Ottis. I spelled it Otis.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say he definitely exists. I promise I didn't make a man up.
Do you want to try Otis Anderson?
Whoa, is Y.A. Tittle in the Hall of Fame?
Did he play for the Giants?
Yes.
Okay.
Frank Gifford in the chat. Do we go chat again?
Where are we seeing? Oh, Strahan. I'm gonna go Y.A. Tittle. That's a good one. 8%.
What about Frank Gifford? The chat's got Frank Gifford over there.
I don't see that in the chat.
Willie Beeman.
Oh, Frank Gifford. There we go. I see it now. I mean, hey, Y.A. Tittle got 8%. That's not bad.
Not bad. We'll take an 8. We're slowly getting down.
We're getting better. Okay, a Hall of Famer for the Green Bay Packers. I mean,
so many, yeah.
Favre, Bart Starr is a Hall of Famer. Huh?
Oh my gosh, there's a guy named Adderley.
How do you spell that?
The last name is ADD. I would assume
there's Herb Adderley.
Is there any other Adderley? Because I don't
There's
actually know.
Nasir Adderley.
No, it's definitely Herb. Oh my gosh, Herb Adderley is from.
He played in the 60s.
Yeah, he's from like the good Packers teams back then.
Let's do Herb Adderley. 0.5%. I don't even know how you got that one.
Let's go.
Wow.
Good poll.
That's a great poll. Now we need a Hall of Famer and a first-round draft pick.
Hall of Famer and ooh.
Yeah. Peyton?
I mean, that's like, yeah, that's.
Now that can be kind of difficult because back in the day, there was a lot of guys who were like 10th round picks or something insane. You know what I mean?
John Elway was a first rounder. Troy Aikman, Dan Marino. I'm just thinking of older players that could give us.
John Elway could be fun. I don't think people would think about John Elway.
Because I think everybody would think recently, right?
Sapp Brooks. I mean.
Oh, true.
Let's go with one of those. I mean.
Sapp and Brooks could be good. Yeah, let's make it a buck.
I don't think people are gonna think about Derek Brooks.
Yeah, I like that pick. I like that
pick. Wow, 0.2% for Derek Brooks.
Let's go, James.
No, I'm upset. The disrespect on Derek Brooks's name.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Ain't nobody
Ooh,
thinking about. Oh, Leroy Song would have been a good
that would
one
have been a
too.
great one too. That's a good one, Chad.
That would have been like 0.00005%.
Tampa Crawl Daddies Select 13U. That
Oh,
is a fantastic one.
all right. Let's take a look here now. We're on the last one. We're doing good so far. 10 plus sacks in a season, Billy, with the New York Giants. And it must be with that team.
There is no way we could take Strahan or Lawrence Taylor. All right, we cannot do it.
Jason Pierre Paul. Didn't he have 10?
Ooh, okay.
Justin Tuck.
I don't know. Did OC, did they ever get
OCU
10 plus
Manora.
sacks?
I mean, let's just go JPP. We're going to keep the Bucs
Okay, we're
theme.
doing it for the Bucks. I
Yeah,
like it.
12% for JPP.
Nice. Okay, good.
We'll take that.
That's good.
10 plus sacks in the season for the Green Bay Packers.
Reggie White.
Reggie White's a good one.
Um,
Julius
recently, Zadarius
Peppers?
Smith.
Julius Peppers?
I don't know if did he get 10 sacks?
Rashawn Gary? He get 10? I don't know.
Do we turn to the chat?
Perhaps. Perhaps we do. I'm thinking. I don't think Peppers ever got 10.
I don't know. He was already, not, I don't want to say past his prime because he was still good in Green Bay, but he was,
Wasn't he there for like 5 minutes in Green Bay?
yeah, he wasn't necessarily.
I don't know about all that. Reggie White's a good one. Oh, Clay Matthews?
Oh, that feels obvious.
Does it feel obvious? Somebody said Clay Matthews in the chat. Reggie White was a stud. Yeah, that's why everybody's going to guess him, though. Because he was a stud. I agree with you, crawdaddies. Let's... Did they ever have any, like, crazy pass rushers? I don't think Blake Martinez ever had 10.
Who do you think's the least obvious between Reggie White, Clay Matthews, Zadarius Smith?
Probably Zadarius Smith.
Even though he's the most recent?
Yeah, I don't think people would think about him.
Okay.
You want to be honest? No, I'm going to say Clay. I'm going to say Clay Matthews. I don't think
All right.
people are going to consider that. 2009 to 2019. Okay, 21%. That's not terrible.
Not so bad.
It's
All
not
right.
terrible. All right, last one. 10 plus sacks in a season and a first round draft pick.
Well, we know we got Sap in the bag,
Yep, Sap's a good one.
and we could keep it Bucks.
Simeon Rice wasn't a first round pick, was he? In my brain, I feel like he was a third round pick. But we've got Sap. I mean, we've got Sap. Somebody said Julius Peppers, Jared Allen. I mean, there's so many people. Why don't we just go with the Bucks pick? Let's just finish it off with Warren Sapp. I doubt people are going to say Warren Sapp, Billy. Leroy Selman? Oh, that, you know what? We got to go Leroy.
Wait a minute. Did Leroy Selman ever
Oh,
get 10 in the season? 'Cause
no,
sacks
they didn't
weren't
count
stat.
sacks. They didn't count sacks back then.
Yeah, for the first couple years of his career, sacks weren't even a stat yet.
Yeah, so like while you could totally put Leroy Selman, he never, yeah, they didn't count sacks, folks. Oh, apparently Julius Peppers had 10.5 in Green Bay. That's disgusting. I didn't know that.
Opportunity.
We're going to go Warren Sapp. We're going to finish it off with Sapp, okay? We got it. 2% for Warren Sapp.
Nice.
Not too shabby.
2% for Sap. We got $3 on the board. I love it.
We did. So, by the way, the number one answer for Saints Giants was Jeremy Shockey. For Saints Packers was Jimmy Graham. For Saints first round draft pick was Chris Olave. Hall of Famer for the Giants, you had Lawrence Taylor. Hall of Famer for the Packers was Brett Favre. Hall of Famer in a first round pick was the Sheriff, Peyton. 10 sacks in a season for the Giants was Michael Strahan. 10 plus sacks in a season for the Packers was Reggie White. 10 plus sacks in a season in a first round pick was Myles Garrett. By the way, only 62% of people got Saints and Packers, which is kind of wild. Only 50% got Saints Giants. It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy to think about. I want to take a quick look.
What was our overall thing? Our rarity rating?
142.
142.
Which is not bad at all, in my opinion. I want to take a look, though, at... We were talking about one. What was one that we were talking about? Oh, I want to take a look at Saints Packers, see if there was anybody on there that we could have gotten that was like, oh no, we should have gotten that. Ty Montgomery, that would have been a good one. Jamal Williams, oh, I didn't even remember he played for the Packers.
Ty
Yes,
Montgomery.
of course. Yeah, no, wait, of course he played for the Packers. Jamal Williams.
Ty Montgomery.
Oh, Jared Cook. Jared Cook.
Jared Cook.
John Kuhn was on there, the fullback.
Wow, we missed some good ones.
Wow. We did miss some good ones.
Do you remember, just a nice happy thought in Bucks fans? Do you remember when Antoine Winfield Jr. came up from behind and punched that ball out of Jared Cook's hands in that playoff
It was
game
in the
against the
playoffs.
Bucks?
It was a beautiful day.
That was a very satisfying moment.
Yes. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But Billy, we've been going for a little under an hour. We talked about a lot today. You have anything else you want to talk about? Any final words that you have?
Sure, I got one for you. Do you guys also remember 2 weeks later when Antoine Winfield Jr. and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl and Winfield looked at Tyreek Hill and he deuced him? Just more
Fantastic.
happy thoughts.
Hey, we could have playoff moments yet again, Billy. We could.
That's true.
You never know. The Bucs are in the
That's true.
playoffs once again. They play on Monday. Very exciting. We have a couple of games literally starting in about a half hour. So,
Yeah.
very exciting stuff, Billy. Guys, want to thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. Hope y'all enjoyed. Go subscribe to Billy's channel. It's in the top of the description. We're trying to get him to 1,000 subscribers. Once he hits 1,000, it's going to be a party. Something special is going to happen. What is it going to be? I don't know. Billy's going to surprise us. It's going to be a beautiful thing. But it is going to be what is happening, folks. So, guys, again, thanks so much for watching this episode of the MrBucsNation podcast. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. As always, guys, we'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now. Go Bucs. See you guys soon. Okay, we're done.